Hey guys, tonight we are sliding into the driver's seat of something that will never come back, no matter how hard we try to restore it. We're talking about the golden age of American car culture in the 1950s, when automobiles were not just transportation but freedom, identity and possibility, all rolled into chrome and steel and optimism. Before we cruise any further, take a second to like this video and subscribe if you enjoy these gentle trips through history. And a huge thank you to everyone who suggested this topic. You always know exactly what stories deserve to be told. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what your favourite classic car is, or if you have a story about a car from your past. I love reading every single one, and just so you know, we are now live on Spotify, so if you prefer listening there, the link is waiting in the description. Now settle in. Dim the lights, turn on a fan if you need that soft hum in the background. Get comfortable, really comfortable, because we are about to take a long, winding drive through an America that does not exist anymore. Have you ever wondered what it actually felt like to pull up to a drive-in on a Saturday night with the radio playing and the whole world ahead of you? What did it smell like inside a brand new Chevrolet Bel Air? What did it sound like when a V8 engine rumbled to life on a quiet suburban street? How did teenagers actually meet at the drive-in without texting first? What did families talk about during those long Sunday drives with no destination? And could you survive a road trip in 1955 without air conditioning, GPS, or even a single cup holder? Well, congratulations, you have just woken up in 1952. The driveway holds a car so shiny you can see your reflection in the hood. Someone down the street is washing theirs. The engine is warm. The day is just beginning. Let us start with the morning, because that is when the relationship between you and your automobile truly begins. You step outside into the cool air, and there it sits in the driveway, gleaming like a promise you made to yourself. This is not just a car. This is your pride, your investment, your ticket to everywhere you have ever wanted to go. The dew has settled overnight, tiny beads of water clinging to the hood and roof, catching the early light like scattered diamonds. You walk toward it slowly, taking in the sight the way some people admire paintings. The chrome bumper reflects the morning sky. The paint, maybe a deep turquoise or a rich cream, looks almost liquid in this light, smooth and flawless, because you waxed it last weekend and the weekend before that. You run your hand along the fender, feeling the coolness of the metal, the perfect smoothness of the finish. There are no dings here, no scratches. You would notice immediately if there were. This car is not just something you own. It is something you tend to, care for, worry about, in the same way you worry about anything precious. You crouch down slightly, checking the tyres. The white walls are bright, clean, because you scrubbed them yesterday with a brush and soapy water, working in small circles until they looked brand new again. The rubber is firm, the treads are deep, everything looks exactly as it should. Then you move to the front, lifting the hood with both hands. It rises with a satisfying weight, sturdy and solid, and you prop it open with the metal rod, leaning in to inspect the engine. It sits there like the heart of something alive, all gleaming metal and carefully routed hoses. You check the oil, pulling the dipstick out slowly, wiping it clean on a rag you keep in your pocket, then dipping it back in to get an accurate reading. The oil is clear amber, exactly where it should be. You check the radiator fluid, the battery terminals, the belts. You're not a mechanic, but you know your car. You know what it needs. You know what sounds right and what does not. This is part of owning an automobile in the 1950s. You do not just drive it, you know it. Satisfied, you close the hood gently, almost reverently, and step back to take in the full picture one more time. The sun is higher now, warming the air, and your car sits there in the driveway like it is ready for anything. A trip across town, a drive to the coast, a quiet Sunday cruise with no destination in mind. Your neighbour is outside now too, watering his lawn, and he lifts a hand in greeting. "Nice morning," he calls over. You nod, smiling. "Sure is." He glances at your car and you can see the quiet admiration in his eyes. Everyone notices a well-kept automobile. Everyone respects it. You walk back toward the house, already thinking about where you might drive later. Maybe nowhere, maybe everywhere. It does not really matter. What matters is that the car is ready, that it is yours, that every morning you get to step outside and see it waiting there, polished and patient and perfect. A machine built not just to move you from place to place, but to make you feel something every time you slide behind the wheel. There is a moment just before you turn the key when everything feels possible. The steering wheel is cool beneath your hands. The seat holds you gently, firm but forgiving, upholstered in fabric that still smells faintly new. You turn the key, and the engine does not just start, it announces itself. The sound is deep, rumbling, alive. It is not the quiet hum of something efficient. It is the full-throated growl of a V8 engine waking up, metal and combustion and power all working together in a symphony you can feel in your chest. The whole car vibrates gently, settling into its idle, and you sit there for a moment, just listening. This is the sound that makes people turn their heads, the sound that tells the neighbourhood someone is going somewhere. It is confident, unmistakable, the kind of sound that says, "I am here and I am not apologising for it." You press the gas pedal lightly, just a tap, and the engine responds immediately, revving higher, louder, before settling back down into that low, steady rumble. It's a conversation between you and the machine. You ask, it answers, simple as that. In the 1950s, engines are not hidden behind layers of plastic and soundproofing. They are right there, just on the other side of the firewall, close enough that you can hear every cylinder firing, every valve opening and closing, every component doing exactly what it was built to do. It is mechanical, raw, honest. You shift into reverse and the transmission clunks softly, a tactile reminder that everything in this car is connected, physical, real. You can feel the drivetrain engage. You can feel the power moving from the engine through the transmission and out to the wheels. Nothing about this experience is abstract. As you back out of the driveway, the engine settles into a rhythm, a steady thrum that becomes the soundtrack to everything you do. It is always there, humming beneath the radio, beneath the wind, beneath your thoughts. You do not tune it out. You would not want to. That sound is part of the experience. It is part of why you love this car. You pull onto the street and the engine deepens as you accelerate, smooth and strong, the kind of power that does not need to shout but makes itself known anyway. The exhaust note echoes off the houses, a low rumble that fades as you move down the block, and you catch a glimpse of a kid on a bicycle stopping to watch you pass. He is staring, wide-eyed, the way kids do when they see something they think is cool. And it is cool. You know it. Everyone knows it. This is not just transportation. This is presence. This is style. This is the kind of machine that makes people stop what they are doing and pay attention, even if just for a moment. You roll down the window, and the sound changes slightly, opening up, letting the engine noise mix with the rush of air and the faint hum of the tyres on pavement. It is a layered, textured sound, the kind you cannot replicate with speakers or recordings. It is the sound of motion, of freedom, of a machine built in an era when engineers believed cars should sound like something. By the time you reach the end of the street, the engine has warmed fully, smoothed out, purring now instead of growling. But the power is still there, waiting, ready whenever you need it. You press the gas a little harder, just to feel it. and the car surges forward eagerly, like it has been hoping you would ask. This is what starting a car felt like in the 1950s. Not a button press, not a silent ignition, but a full-body experience, a sound and a feeling and a connection that reminded you every single time that you were in control of something powerful and beautiful and entirely unmistakably alive. Saturday night means one thing: the drive-in. Not a movie theatre, though those exist too, but the kind of drive-in where you pull up, roll down your window, and wait for a server on roller skates to glide over with a tray that hooks right onto your door. The parking lot is already filling up by the time you arrive. Rows of cars angled in toward the building, chrome bumpers catching the glow of neon signs that spell out names like Mel's or Bob's Big Boy in bright, cheerful letters. You find a spot, pull in carefully, and cut the engine. The sudden quiet feels almost strange after the rumble of the drive over. You roll down your window all the way, letting in the cool evening air and the sounds of the lot. Laughter, music from someone's radio, the faint sizzle of a grill working overtime in the kitchen. The smell hits you next. Burgers cooking, onions frying, French fries crisping in hot oil. It is the kind of smell that makes your stomach wake up and start paying attention. A server appears, gliding smoothly across the pavement on roller skates, tray balanced on one hand, uniform crisp and clean. She has done this 1,000 times, and it shows. She does not wobble. She does not hesitate. She moves like skating is just another form of walking, easy and natural. Evening, she says, smiling as she pulls out a small notepad. What can I get you? You order a burger, fries, and a Coke. Because that is what everyone orders, and because it is exactly what you've been thinking about since lunch. She jots it down quickly, skates off toward the kitchen, and you settle back into your seat, watching the scene unfold around you. The drive-in is more than just a place to eat. It is a destination, a gathering spot, a place where everyone comes to see and be seen. Teenagers are here with their friends, piled into cars, windows down, radios playing. Families are here too, parents in the front, kids in the back, everyone enjoying the novelty of eating dinner without leaving the car. Across the lot, someone revs their engine just a little, just enough to remind everyone that their car sounds good. A group of girls walks past, heels clicking on the pavement, glancing at the cars, at the boys leaning against the fenders, at the whole spectacle of Saturday night in motion. The server returns, skating smoothly up to your window, and hooks the tray onto your door with a practiced motion. The tray is metal, sturdy, designed to hold your meal without spilling. Your burger sits wrapped in paper, the fries piled in a red plastic basket, the Coke sweating in a tall glass with ice that clinks softly when you lift it. You take a bite of the burger, and it is exactly what you hoped it would be. Hot, juicy, simple, perfect. The fries are crisp and salty. The Coke is cold and sweet and fizzy enough to make your eyes water slightly. This is not fancy. It is not trying to be. It is just good. Around you, the lot is alive with conversation, engines idling, music drifting from open windows. Someone laughs loudly. Someone else shouts a greeting across the rows of cars. The neon signs flicker and hum overhead, casting everything in soft, colourful light. You finish your meal slowly, savouring it, because there is no rush. No one is hurrying you along. No one is waiting for your parking spot. This is Saturday night, and Saturday night belongs to moments like this. Simple, unhurried, sweet, in a way that has nothing to do with the Coke and everything to do with the feeling of being exactly where you're supposed to be. When you're done, the server skates back over, collects the tray, and thanks you with a smile that feels genuine. You start the engine, back out carefully, and pull onto the street. the taste of the burger still lingering, the memory of the evening settling warm and easy in your chest. This is what the drive-in was. Not just food, not just a place, but a feeling, a moment, a piece of Saturday night that made everything else worth it. Friday and Saturday nights belong to Main Street. This is where everyone goes, not because there is somewhere specific to be, but because being seen is the whole point. You cruise slowly, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the window frame, the radio playing something that makes you feel older than you are. The street is lined with storefronts, their windows dark now, closed for the evening, but the streetlights are on, casting pools of warm light across the pavement. Cars move in a slow, steady flow, nose to tail, each one crawling along at 15 miles per hour, maybe 20 if someone gets impatient, though no one really does. This is not about getting anywhere. This is about the journey itself. You pass the drugstore, the Five and Dime, the corner diner where a few people sit at the counter, sipping coffee and watching the parade of automobiles roll past. They wave. You wave back. Everyone waves. It is part of the ritual, the unspoken code of Main Street on a weekend night. Your car is part of the show now, part of the procession. You washed it this afternoon, waxed it until the paint gleamed, cleaned the chrome until it looked like liquid silver. You did not do all the work just to leave it in the driveway. You did it so you could be here, rolling down Main Street with the window down and the engine rumbling softly beneath you, part of something larger than yourself. Other cars pull up alongside you at the stoplights, engines idling, radios playing. You glance over, they glance back. Sometimes you recognize the driver, a classmate, a neighbour, someone you have seen here before. You nod, they nod, no words are needed. This is the language of cruising, silent, respectful, understood. A group of girls walks along the sidewalk, laughing, their skirts swaying as they move. They glance at the cars, at the boys leaning out of windows, at the whole scene unfolding in front of them. One of them waves. You wave back, feeling the smallest flicker of pride that she noticed your car, that she thought it was worth acknowledging. The light changes and you roll forward, keeping pace with the car in front of you. The rhythm is hypnotic, stop and go, the same loop over and over. You drive to the end of Main Street, turn around at the edge of town and drive back the other way. Then you do it again, and again, sometimes for hours. It sounds repetitive, and it is, but that is not the point. The point is the feeling, the sense of community, the knowledge that everyone else here is doing the same thing, moving through the same loop, listening to the same music, breathing the same night air. You're all part of something together, even if you never speak, even if you only ever exchange glances and nods and the occasional wave. Someone pulls up next to you at a light, engine rumbling a little louder than yours, and you can tell they're proud of it. You give them a nod of respect. Their car is clean, well kept, clearly loved. That matters here. That earns you a place in the procession. The radio station plays a slow song now, something soft and crooning, and the mood shifts slightly. The energy mellows. People settle into their seats a little deeper. The night is getting later, but no one is ready to go home yet. Not when Main Street still has this pull, this magnetism that keeps everyone circling, reluctant to break the spell. You pass the same storefronts again, the same diner, the same corner where the girls are still standing, still laughing, still watching the cars roll past. It feels timeless, like you could do this forever and nothing would ever change. And maybe that is the magic of it. For a few hours on a Friday or Saturday night, the world narrows down to this one street, this one slow loop, this one simple pleasure of driving with no destination. You're not worried about tomorrow. You're not thinking about school or work or anything beyond the glow of the streetlights and the hum of the engine and the warmth of the night air on your face. Eventually you will peel off, head home, park the car in the driveway and call it a night. But not yet. Not while Main Street still feels alive. Not while the music is still playing and the cars are still rolling and the whole world feels like it fits perfectly inside this one small glowing stretch of pavement. Sunday afternoon is for driving with no destination in mind. Your father suggests it after lunch, and everyone piles into the car, no one quite sure where you're going, but no one questioning it either. The windows are down, the breeze is warm, the world rolls past in soft green and gold. Your mother sits in the front passenger seat, her hand resting lightly on the window frame, her hair lifting slightly in the wind. She's relaxed in a way she's not during the week, when there are dishes to wash and laundry to fold and 100 small tasks that never quite end. But Sunday afternoon is different. Sunday afternoon is for letting go. You sit in the back with your siblings, legs stretched out across the bench seat, elbows resting on the armrest, watching the scenery slide past in a slow, dreamy blur. There is no urgency, no schedule. Your father drives slowly, taking back roads you have never been on before, turning left because the road looks interesting, turning right because the trees are prettier that way. No one asks where you're going. It does not matter. The whole point of the Sunday drive is that there is no point, no agenda, no arrival time, no destination circled on a map. You are simply moving through the world together as a family, with nothing to do and nowhere to be, and all afternoon to do it in. The radio plays softly, a station that comes in clear and then fuzzy and then clear again as you move farther from town. Your father hums along to a song he recognises. Your mother gazes out the window, taking in the fields and farmhouses and the occasional cow standing perfectly still in the shade of a tree. You pass through a small town, barely more than a crossroads really, just a gas station and a general store and a church with a white steeple that looks like it has been standing there since the beginning of time. A man waves from his porch. Your father waves back. You do not know him. He does not know you. But he waves anyway, because that is what people do out here. The road curves gently, following the line of a creek that runs alongside it, the water glinting in the sunlight, slow and lazy and impossibly clear. Your father slows down even more, almost to a crawl, so everyone can see it. "Look at that," he says quietly, and everyone looks, even though there is nothing particularly special about the creek except that it is pretty and peaceful, and exactly the kind of thing that makes a Sunday drive worth taking. Farther on, the road climbs slightly, rising through a grove of trees that arch overhead, their branches meeting in the middle to form a tunnel of green. The light filters through the leaves in scattered patches, dappling the pavement, and for a moment it feels like you have driven into another world, quieter, cooler, softer. Your mother sighs contentedly. "This is nice," she says, and your father nods, smiling in that quiet way he does when he's pleased with himself for suggesting something that turned out well. No one is talking much. There is no need. The silence is comfortable, filled only with the sound of the engine, the rush of wind through the open windows, the faint creak of the springs in the seats as someone shifts their weight. It is the kind of silence that feels full rather than empty, rich with presence rather than absence. Eventually the road brings you back toward familiar territory, the outskirts of your town, the streets you recognize, the houses you pass every day. Your father turns onto your street, and the driveway comes into view, and the Sunday drive is over. But it does not feel like an ending. It feels like a pause, a gentle punctuation mark in the middle of the weekend. You climb out of the car, stretching, blinking in the sunlight, still carrying the warmth of the afternoon in your chest. Your father pats the hood of the car affectionately before heading inside. Your mother pauses on the porch, looking back at the street, still smiling. And you stand there for a moment, feeling the echo of the drive still humming in your bones, the memory of the world rolling past, soft and slow and unhurried. This is what Sunday drives were. Not about arriving, not about seeing something spectacular, but about being together, moving together, finding peace in motion and beauty in the ordinary, and joy in the simple act of going nowhere in particular with the people you love. Pulling into the gas station is not just about fuel. It is about the attendant in the crisp uniform who jogs over the moment you arrive, smiling like he's been waiting for you specifically. He does not just pump your gas. He checks your oil, wipes your windshield, inspects your tyres, and asks how she is running. You pull up to the pump, and before you can even shift into park, he is there, wiping his hands on a rag, his cap tilted just so, his shirt tucked neatly into his pants. "Good afternoon," he says, and he means it. This is not a script. This is genuine. "Fill her up?" he asks, already unscrewing the gas cap, already reaching for the nozzle. You nod, and he goes to work, the pump clicking rhythmically as the fuel flows, the smell of gasoline sharp and unmistakable in the warm air. But he does not just stand there waiting. He lifts the hood without asking, because this is part of the service, part of what you are paying for when you pull into a full-service station in the 1950s. He pulls the dipstick, checks the oil level, wipes it clean, checks it again. "You're down about a quart," he says. "Want me to top it off?" You tell him yes, and he disappears into the garage, returning a moment later with a can of oil, the kind with a pour spout already attached. He tips it carefully into the engine, watching the level, making sure not to overfill. Then he closes the hood gently, moves to the front of the car, and starts wiping down the windshield with a squeegee, working in smooth, practiced strokes. He does not miss a spot. He takes his time. When he finishes the windshield, he moves to the side windows, then the rear, leaving everything streak-free and clear. You can see the care in his movements, the pride he takes in doing the job right. "Your tyres look a little low," he says, crouching down to inspect them. "Want me to check the pressure?" You nod again, and he walks over to the air pump, dragging the hose behind him. He kneels beside each tyre, unscrewing the valve cap, pressing the gauge against the valve stem, reading the pressure. He adds air where it is needed, checking and rechecking until everything is exactly right. Then he screws the caps back on, stands up, and brushes the dust off his knees. The pump clicks off, and he hangs the nozzle back on the hook, screws the gas cap back into place, and walks over to your window. "That will be $3.20, he says. You hand him the money, and he counts out your change carefully, placing it in your palm with a nod. You are all set. Drive safe now. And that is it. The whole interaction takes maybe 10 minutes, but it feels like more than just a transaction. It feels like care. Like someone took a few moments out of their day to make sure you and your car were both ready for whatever comes next. The gas station in the 1950s is not just a place to refuel. It is a social hub, a gathering point, a place where people stop not only because they need gas, but because they want to. Regulars know the attendants by name. Attendants know the regulars, know their cars. Remember that your Buick burns a little oil, or that your Chevy has been making a funny noise and you have been meaning to get it looked at. People pull in just to chat, to ask about road conditions, to get advice on a mechanical problem, to hear the latest news from around town. The gas station is where you find out that the Johnsons are selling their house, that the new grocery store is opening next week, that someone spotted a deer on Route 12 this morning. It is a place where cars are not just machines, but extensions of the people who drive them. The attendant notices when you have waxed your car, when you have replaced a hubcap, when the paint is looking particularly good in the afternoon light. He compliments you on it, and you feel a quiet swell of pride because someone noticed, someone cared enough to say something. You pull out of the gas station with a full tank, clean windows, proper tyre pressure, and the comforting knowledge that someone checked on your car the way a doctor checks on a patient. You're not just a customer, you're a regular, and your car is not just a vehicle. It is something worth taking care of. You pull into the drive-in lot and choose your spot carefully. Somewhere with a good view, not too close to the speakers, not too far from the exit. You cut the engine. The lot is filling up now, cars angled in neat rows, chrome bumpers glinting under the late afternoon sun. The building sits in the centre of it all, bright and cheerful, with wide windows and a neon sign that hums softly, casting a warm glow even before the sun has fully set. The whole place feels alive, buzzing with energy, voices, laughter, the faint sound of music drifting from somewhere inside. You roll your window down all the way, letting in the smells that have already started to make your mouth water. Grilled burgers, fried onion rings, fresh coffee brewing. The air is warm and thick with it, and you settle back into your seat, letting the anticipation build. It does not take long. A car hop appears, skating smoothly across the pavement, her uniform crisp and clean, her smile bright and easy. She glides up to your window without slowing, balancing effortlessly on her skates, and leans in slightly. "Hey there," she says. "What can I get for you?" You order a cheeseburger, onion rings, and a chocolate milkshake, because that is what you came for, and she writes it down quickly on her notepad, nodding as you speak. She does not need to ask you to repeat anything. She's done this 1,000 times, and she knows the menu by heart. "Be right back," she says, and then she's gone, skating back toward the kitchen with the same effortless grace, weaving between cars, never stumbling, never slowing down. You watch her go, impressed despite yourself. Car hops make it look easy, but you know it is not. You know they spend hours on their feet, or rather, on their wheels, skating back and forth across hot pavement, balancing trays loaded with food and drinks, dodging car doors that swing open without warning, all while maintaining that same cheerful, unflappable demeanour. Around you, the lot is a study in motion and stillness. Cars sit parked, engines off, but people are everywhere. A group of teenagers has gathered a few rows over, leaning against their car, radios playing, laughter rising and falling. A family sits in a station wagon nearby, the kids in the backseat bouncing excitedly, their father trying to calm them down with limited success. Someone honks their horn, a quick, playful tap, and someone else honks back. It is a conversation without words, a way of saying, "I see you, I know you, we are all here together." Your car hop returns sooner than you expected, skating toward you with a tray balanced expertly on one hand. She hooks it onto your door with a practice motion, the metal tray slotting perfectly into place, steady and secure. "There you go," she says. "Enjoy." The burger is wrapped in paper, still warm, the cheese melted perfectly across the top. The onion rings are piled high in a basket, golden and crispy and salted just right. And the milkshake sits in a tall glass, thick and cold, and topped with a swirl of whipped cream that is already starting to melt down the sides. You take a bite of the burger, and it is everything you hoped it would be. Simple, honest, delicious. The onion rings are crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside, and the milkshake is so thick you have to work the straw a little to get it moving. You eat slowly, savouring it, because there is no rush. The sun is sinking lower now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the neon sign flickers to life fully, bright and bold against the gathering dusk. The lot is even fuller now, every spot taken, cars packed in tight, and the whole place feels like a party you did not know you were invited to but are glad you stumbled into. When you finish, The car hop skates back over, collects the tray, and gives you a smile that feels genuine. You pay her, add a tip, and she thanks you warmly before skating off to the next car. You sit there for a few more minutes, engine still off, window still down, just watching the scene unfold around you. The drive-in is more than just a place to eat. It is a destination, a ritual, a piece of the weekend that makes everything else feel a little brighter, a little easier, a little more worth it. Eventually you start the engine and pull out carefully, navigating between the rows of parked cars, and as you turn onto the street, you glance back one more time at the glowing sign, the crowded lot, the car hops skating between cars with trays balanced on their hands, and you think, this is what Saturday night is supposed to feel like. The front seat of your car is one long, uninterrupted bench, wide enough to fit 3 people comfortably and 4 if everyone is friendly. There are no individual bucket seats, no center console, no cup holders, just smooth, continuous upholstery that runs from door to door like a living room sofa that happens to move. You slide in from the driver's side, and there is something liberating about the openness of it. The way you can scoot across the seat if you want, the way your passenger can sit close or far depending on the mood, the moment, the relationship. The bench seat is democratic. It does not assign positions, it simply offers space. The upholstery is soft, often a patterned fabric in colours that match the car's exterior, blues and greens and rich burgundies. It gives slightly when you sit, cradling you without swallowing you, firm enough to support but gentle enough to feel welcoming. The stitching is visible, neat and precise, running in straight lines across the seat back and cushion. There are no seat belts, not because they have not been invented, but because they are not required, not standard, not something most people think about. The idea of strapping yourself into your car feels vaguely paranoid, like you're expecting disaster instead of simply going for a drive. So you sit freely, unencumbered, able to shift and stretch and lean as you please. Your passenger slides in beside you, and there is no barrier between you, no console, no armrest, just the bench, wide and open, and the choice of how close to sit. On a date, that choice matters. Sitting close means something. Sitting far means something else. The bench seat allows for both, and everything in between. You rest your arm along the top of the seat back, a casual pose that feels natural, easy. Your passenger leans slightly against the door or maybe closer to you, and the car becomes an intimate space, a private world, even as it moves through the public streets. In the back seat, your kids sprawl across another bench just as wide, just as open. They lie down if they get sleepy. They sit up and press their faces to the windows when something interesting passes by. They move freely, unbuckled, unrestrained, and you glance back at them in the rearview mirror, making sure they are okay, trusting that they are safe simply because you are driving carefully. There is a freedom in this that feels almost reckless now, looking back, but in the moment it simply feels normal. Cars are not seen as dangerous. They are seen as convenient, liberating, a way to go farther and faster than you ever could on foot. The risks are understood in an abstract way, but they are not dwelled upon. You do not strap yourself in for a trip to the grocery store any more than you would strap yourself in at the dinner table. The bench seat also means the car can hold more people. You can fit 6, sometimes 7 if everyone squeezes, and road trips become adventures in closeness, in shared space, in learning to tolerate elbows and knees, and the occasional argument about who is taking up too much room. On long drives, your passenger might fall asleep, head tilted against the window or resting on your shoulder if you're close enough. You keep driving, careful not to jostle them, one hand on the wheel, the radio playing softly, the road unspooling ahead of you in the headlights. The bench seat is more than just a place to sit. It is a space that allows for connection, for intimacy, for the small moments that make driving together feel like more than just transportation. It is part of what makes the car feel less like a machine and more like a room, a mobile living space where life happens, conversations unfold, relationships deepen. And the absence of seatbelts, while undeniably dangerous by modern standards, adds to that sense of freedom, of trust, of a world that has not yet learned to be quite so afraid. You drive carefully because you know your family is with you, unbelted and vulnerable, and that knowledge makes you a better driver, more cautious, more aware. The bench seat and the freedom it represents is something you will remember long after cars change, long after bucket seats and console organisers and mandatory seatbelts become the norm. You will remember what it felt like to slide across that smooth upholstery, to sit close to someone you cared about, to let your kids sprawl in the back without a second thought. You will remember the simplicity of it, the openness, the trust, and you will wonder, quietly, if something was lost when cars became safer, more segmented, more insistent on keeping everyone in their designated space. There is something about the open road in the 1950s that feels like freedom distilled into asphalt and horizon. You're behind the wheel, windows down, engine humming, and the road ahead stretches endlessly, ribbon smooth and full of possibility. The highways are new in some places, part of the interstate system that is slowly stitching the country together, wide and straight and designed for speed. In other places the roads are older, two-lane ribbons that curve and climb and follow the land instead of cutting through it. Either way they call to you. They promise escape, adventure, somewhere new. You leave town early, before the heat sets in, when the air is still cool and the light is soft and golden. The road opens up ahead of you, empty and inviting, and you press the accelerator gently, feeling the car respond, the engine settling into a steady hum, the speedometer needle climbing to 50, then 60, then holding steady. The landscape rolls past in waves of green and gold, fields of wheat bending in the wind, farmhouses set back from the road, barns weathered to soft grey, silos standing like sentinels against the sky. Every few miles a small town appears, just a handful of buildings clustered around a crossroads, and then it is gone again, swallowed by the open land. There is no GPS, no traffic updates, no navigation system telling you where to turn. You have a map folded and refolded so many times the creases are starting to tear. But mostly you navigate by instinct, by road signs, by the sun's position in the sky. You know you are heading west because the sun is behind you, rising over your shoulder, and that is enough. Your passenger, maybe your spouse, maybe a friend, sits beside you on the bench seat, feet propped on the dashboard, hat tilted low to shade their eyes. They do not talk much. They do not need to. The road provides its own soundtrack. The hum of the tyres, the rush of wind through the open windows, the occasional rattle of gravel pinging against the undercarriage when you drift onto the shoulder. You pass a Burma Shave sign, the first of a series planted along the roadside, each one offering a piece of a rhyme, and you read them aloud as they appear, one after another, the silly poetry, a small delight that makes your passenger smile. The miles accumulate slowly without urgency. You're not racing to get somewhere. You're savouring the journey, the act of moving through space, the landscape unfolding like a story you're reading one page at a time. You stop at a roadside diner for lunch, a small place with a gravel parking lot and a sign that promises home cooking. Inside, the counter is worn smooth, the stools covered in red vinyl, the air thick with the smell of coffee and frying bacon. You order a sandwich and a Coke, and the waitress brings it with a smile and a comment about the weather. Back on the road, The afternoon heat builds, and you roll the windows down farther, letting the wind rush through the car, hot and dry and smelling faintly of dust and wildflowers. Your arm rests on the window frame, your hand riding the currents of air, rising and falling like a wing. The road climbs now, rising into hills, and the engine works a little harder, the transmission downshifting automatically, the V8 pulling strong and steady. You crest the hill, and the view opens up, miles and miles of land spreading out below you, and for a moment you just coast, letting gravity pull you down the other side, the speedometer creeping higher without any effort from you. This is what the open road was in the 1950s, not a means to an end, but an end in itself, not something to endure, but something to enjoy. The journey was the point, the movement, the landscape, the wind, the light, the sense of being unmoored from routine and responsibility, and the familiar confines of home. You could drive for hours, for days, and never feel bored because the world was passing by, constantly changing, offering new sights and sounds and smells. Every curve in the road revealed something different. Every town was a small mystery, a glimpse into other lives, other rhythms, other ways of being. And your car, your faithful companion, carried you through it all with a steadiness that felt almost sentient, like it understood what you were looking for and was determined to help you find it. The sun sinks lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and you start thinking about where you will stop for the night. There is a motel up ahead, the sign says, clean rooms and a vacancy, and that is good enough. You pull in, park under a cottonwood tree and cut the engine. The silence rushes in, sudden and complete, and you sit there for a moment, letting the stillness settle over you, feeling the hum of the road still vibrating in your bones. Tomorrow you will get back on that road, chase that horizon a little farther. But tonight you rest, content in the knowledge that the open road is still out there, waiting, patient, endless, ready to carry you wherever you want to go. The sun is setting and you're pulling into the drive-in theatre, tyres crunching over gravel as you follow the rows of speaker posts to find the perfect spot. The screen looms ahead, blank and waiting, enormous against the twilight sky. You choose a spot near the middle, not too close to the screen where you would have to crane your neck, not too far back where the image might feel small and distant. You back in carefully, angling the car just right so the windshield has a clear view, and then you cut the engine and settle in. The lot is filling up around you, families and couples and groups of teenagers, all performing the same ritual, finding their spots, positioning their cars, preparing for the movie that will start as soon as the last light fades from the sky. Some people have brought blankets and pillows, turning their back seats into makeshift beds. Others have coolers filled with snacks and drinks, determined to avoid the prices at the concession stand. You reach out the window and lift the speaker off its post, a heavy metal box with a coiled cord attached, and hook it onto your window. It hangs there, solid and slightly awkward, but when you adjust the volume dial, the sound crackles to life, filling the car with music, with announcements, with the voice of the theatre welcoming everyone and reminding them that the snack bar is now open. Your passenger suggests getting popcorn, and you agree, climbing out of the car and walking across the gravel lot toward the concession stand, a small building glowing brightly in the gathering dark. The line is already long, families and couples waiting patiently, and you join them, breathing in the smells of popcorn and hot dogs and candy. When you return, arms full of snacks, the sky has deepened to a dark blue, and the first previews are starting. You settle back into your seat, the speaker crackling slightly, the screen flickering to life with images and sound, and the whole lot goes quiet, everyone focused now, everyone watching. The movie unfolds in front of you, larger than life, the images vivid and bright against the night sky. Stars are beginning to appear overhead, scattered across the darkness, and occasionally you glance up at them, struck by the strange beauty of watching a story play out beneath the actual heavens. Your passenger leans closer, sharing the armrest, and you pass the popcorn back and forth, the warmth of their presence comforting and familiar. Around you, other cars are full of people doing the same thing, couples sitting close, families gathered together, everyone united in this shared experience. Halfway through the movie, someone a few rows over starts their engine, the rumble cutting through the quiet, and a few people glance over, annoyed, but the driver quickly cuts it off again, embarrassed. The sound from the speaker is not perfect. It crackles. It fades in and out slightly. But somehow that makes it feel more intimate, more personal, like the movie is being delivered directly to you through this small, imperfect device. When the movie ends, the screen goes dark and the lot comes alive with engines starting, headlights flicking on, gravel crunching under tyres as everyone begins to leave. You hang the speaker back on its post, start your car, and join the slow procession toward the exit, winding through rows of other cars, everyone patient, everyone moving together. As you pull onto the road, you glance back one more time at the screen, still blank, still towering, waiting for tomorrow night's crowd. And you think about how perfect it was, how simple, how the drive-in turned a movie into an event, a destination, a memory. This is what the drive-in theatre was. Not just a place to watch films, but a place to be together, to sit under the stars with the people you cared about, to feel the magic of stories unfolding while the world grew dark and quiet around you. Saturday morning, and the parking lot of the diner is already filling with cars that look like they were polished by people who take this seriously. Chrome gleams, paint shines, engines idle with that low, confident rumble that says, "I was built right." You pull in slowly, scanning for a spot, aware that every eye in the lot is watching, assessing, appreciating, or critiquing your ride. This is not hostile. This is the language of car people, a silent conversation conducted through observation and nods and the occasional raised eyebrow that means nice work on that detail. You find a space between a Corvette and a Thunderbird, both immaculate, both clearly loved, and you park carefully, making sure your wheels are straight, your car positioned just so. Before you even cut the engine, someone is walking over, hands in pockets, eyes already travelling over your fender line, your grille, your white walls. 53, they ask, nodding toward your Chevy. 54, you reply, and they nod again, appreciating the correction, filing it away. Beautiful, they say simply, and that one word carries weight. This is a person who knows cars, who understands what it takes to keep a vehicle looking this good, and their compliment is genuine. You climb out, and more people drift over, drawn by curiosity or camaraderie, or simply the unspoken rule that says when someone new arrives, you go say hello. They do not crowd you. They keep a respectful distance. But they look, really look, at your car, taking in the details you spent hours perfecting. Someone notices the pinstriping you added last month. Someone else crouches down to admire the condition of your exhaust tips. A third person leans in to peer at your dashboard, nodding approvingly at the original radio still mounted there, still working. The conversation flows easily, naturally. You talk about what you've done to the car, what you're planning to do next, where you found that trim piece, how you got the paint to shine like that. They share their own stories, their own challenges, tips they have learned, shops they recommend, parts suppliers who are reliable. This is what car clubs are about. Not bragging, though there is pride here, plenty of it. Not competition, though everyone quietly wants their car to be the best in the lot. But community, connection. The shared understanding that these machines are more than just transportation, that they represent hours of work and care and love, and that the people who understand that are worth knowing. Someone suggests heading inside for coffee, and the group moves together, a loose gathering of people who might not know each other's last names, but know each other's cars intimately, and that is enough. You all file into the diner, sliding into booths, ordering coffee and pancakes, the conversation shifting easily from carburetors to families to plans for the afternoon. After breakfast, you all head back outside, and someone pops their hood, showing off a recent rebuild, and everyone gathers around, leaning in, asking questions, offering advice. Someone else starts their engine, revving it slightly, and the sound echoes across the lot, deep and throaty and perfect, and everyone nods appreciatively. You stay for hours, not because you have to, but because you want to. Because being around people who care about the same things you do, who speak the same language, who appreciate the same details, feels good, feels right. Eventually the lot begins to empty, engines roaring to life, exhausts popping softly as people pull out, heading home or heading to the next gathering spot, or just heading out for a drive because the day is beautiful and the car is running well, and what else would you do on a Saturday? You start your own engine, let it warm for a moment, and pull out slowly, waving to the people still standing around, talking, reluctant to let the morning end. As you turn onto the street, you glance in the rearview mirror at the lot behind you, at the cars still gleaming in the sunlight, and you think about next weekend, about coming back, about being part of this again. Because car clubs are not just about the cars, they're about belonging. About being part of something that understands you, that values what you value, that sees the work you put in and respects it. And that, more than anything, is why you keep coming back. Your car does not just sit in the driveway, it poses. The tail fins rise from the rear fenders like the wings of some beautiful impractical bird, sweeping upward in curves so dramatic they look like they were designed by someone who believed cars should make you feel something. And they do. Every time you walk toward your car, every time you catch sight of it from across a parking lot. Those fins catch your eye, demand your attention, refuse to be ignored. They are bold, excessive, gloriously unnecessary. And that is exactly the point. This is the 1950s, when bigger is better, when more is encouraged, when restraint is for people who lack imagination. The tail fins on your car are not there because they improve aerodynamics, though the designers might claim otherwise. They are there because they look amazing, because they signal speed and modernity and optimism, because they make your car look like it could take flight if it wanted to. The chrome, too, is everywhere. It wraps around the headlights, frames the grille, runs in bright strips along the body, circles the tail lights like jewellery. It gleams in the sunlight, reflects the world around it, catches every ray of light and throws it back brighter, sharper, more insistent. Polishing that chrome is a labour of love and stubbornness. You crouch beside the car with a soft cloth and a tin of polish, working in small circles, buffing away the faint haze that dulls the shine, revealing the mirror finish beneath. Your reflection stares back at you from the bumper, distorted slightly, stretched and curved, but unmistakably there. The chrome does not just look good, it feels good under your hand, smooth and cool, solid and substantial. It is real metal, heavy and durable, not the thin plastic trim that will come later, in other decades, trying to mimic this look, but never quite capturing the weight, the presence, the rightness of actual chrome. The tail fins sweep back and up, some of them modest, just a suggestion of lift, others towering and pointed, tipped with rocket-shaped tail lights that glow red when you brake, making the whole rear end look like a jet preparing for takeoff. At night, those lights are mesmerizing, twin points of brilliance that announce your presence, that make people stop and stare. Your neighbour walks past, slows, stops. Those fins, he says, shaking his head in appreciation. They do not make them like that anymore, and he is right. They do not. They will not. This is the peak, the moment when American car design throws caution aside and embraces spectacle, when engineers and designers collaborate to create machines that are as much art as transportation. When the question is not whether something is practical, but whether it is bold enough, bright enough, beautiful enough. You run your hand along the fin, feeling the smooth metal, the gentle curve that rises and then tapers to a point. It is impractical, yes. It adds weight. It complicates parking. It serves no functional purpose whatsoever. But standing here, looking at it, you cannot imagine the car without it. The fins are not an accessory. They are the identity. Inside the car, the chrome continues. The dashboard is trimmed with it. The door handles are chrome, the radio knobs, the window cranks, the rear-view mirror, all chrome, all gleaming, all catching the light and scattering it across the interior like confetti. This is a car designed to be noticed, to be admired, to be remembered, and it succeeds. People stop in parking lots to look at it. Kids point as you drive past. Other drivers nod respectfully at stoplights, acknowledging the beauty of what you're driving, the care you have taken, the statement you're making simply by choosing to drive something this unapologetically bold. The tail fins and chrome are not about subtlety. They're about celebration, about joy, about a country that feels confident and prosperous and ready to take on the world. They're about believing that cars can be more than practical, that they can be dreams made metal, that they can lift your spirits every single time you see them waiting in the driveway. And they do. Even now, even after all the miles, all the polishing, all the hours you have spent keeping them perfect, the fins and the chrome still make you smile, still make you feel, just for a moment, like you're driving something from the future. Something impossibly glamorous, something that belongs on a poster instead of a driveway. This is what tail fins and chrome meant in the 1950s. Not just decoration, but aspiration. Not just style, but soul. A reminder that sometimes, maybe even often, beauty is reason enough. The colour of your car is not just a preference. It is a statement, a declaration, a glimpse into who you are, or at least who you want people to think you are. Walk down any suburban street in the 1950s, and you will see driveways painted in shades that feel almost too bold for the quiet houses behind them. There are no boring colours here. No silver, no grey, no understated beige trying to blend into the background. These are colours that announce themselves. Turquoise so bright it looks like a swimming pool. Coral pink that glows in the evening light, deep burgundy that shimmers like wine, mint green that feels fresh and optimistic and somehow edible. You chose your colour carefully, standing in the showroom, looking at the charts, imagining how each shade would look in your driveway, how it would catch the light, how it would make you feel every time you walked outside and saw it waiting there. The salesman stood patiently beside you, used to this ritual, understanding that choosing a car colour in the 1950s is not a casual decision. When you finally decided, when you pointed to the swatch and said, "That one," it felt right. It felt like you. And when the car arrived, when you saw it for the first time in full sunlight, the colour even richer and deeper than you imagined, you knew you had chosen well. Now that colour is part of your identity. People do not say, "There goes your neighbour." They say, "There goes the guy with the blue Bel Air, the woman with the pink Cadillac, the family with the yellow station wagon." The car and its colour become inseparable from you. A rolling signature that everyone recognises. The paint itself is different in the 1950s. It is lacquer, hand-sprayed in multiple coats, each one sanded smooth before the next is applied, the final coat buffed to a shine so deep you can see layers of colour beneath the surface, glowing from within. It is not the quick, industrial process that will come later. It is craftsmanship, patience, care. And it shows. The finish is like glass, smooth and flawless, reflecting the world around it with such clarity that you can see clouds moving across the hood, trees swaying in the fender, the house mirrored perfectly in the door panel. You wash the car carefully, gently, using soft cloths and mild soap, because you know this paint is precious, that it requires respect. Some colours are more popular than others. You see a lot of turquoise and white, a combination that feels clean and modern, and somehow nautical, like the car might be equally at home cruising along the coast. You see coral and cream, a pairing that feels sophisticated, elegant, the kind of colour scheme someone confident chooses. But there are surprises too. A neighbour down the street has a car painted in two-tone lavender and silver, and every time you see it, you're struck by how daring it is, how unusual, how it manages to be both bold and tasteful at the same time. Another family has a car in deep forest green with gold trim, a combination that feels regal, expensive, serious. Your own colour has become familiar now, comforting. You know exactly how it looks in morning light, soft and muted, still waking up. You know how it looks at noon, bright and saturated, almost glowing. You know how it looks at dusk, deeper and richer, holding on to the last of the light even as the sky darkens. When you polish the car, when you run the wax over the paint in slow circles and then buff it away, the colour deepens even more, takes on a warmth and depth that makes it look almost alive. People comment on it. They stop to admire it. They ask what colour it is, as if giving it a name will help them understand it, capture it, maybe choose it for themselves someday. But you know the truth. The colour is not just a name on a chart. It is the way the light hits it, the way it changes throughout the day, the way it makes you feel when you see it, the way it has become, over time, not just the colour of your car, but a part of your life, your routine, your identity. This is what colour meant in the 1950s. Not just decoration, but expression. Not just a choice, but a commitment. A way of telling the world, this is who I am. This is what I value. This is the beauty I want to drive through the world every single day. You reach for the radio dial, smooth and round beneath your fingertips, and twist it gently until a station crackles to life. The sound is not perfect. There is static woven into the music, faint and persistent, but somehow that makes it feel more real. The music flows out of the single speaker, mounted somewhere in the dashboard, filling the car with sound that feels warm and immediate and alive. It is AM radio, all that is available, all that you need, really. Because what comes through that speaker is the soundtrack of the 1950s. Rock and roll, crooners, big band holdovers, and the occasional country tune drifting in from a distant station. You turn the dial slowly, carefully, listening as stations fade in and out, voices and music overlapping for a moment before one wins out and comes in clear. The dial glows softly, the numbers and station markers printed in a font that matches the car's dashboard. Everything coordinated, everything designed to feel cohesive and complete. When you find a station you like, you leave it there, letting the music settle into the background, becoming part of the drive. The DJ's voice comes on between songs, smooth and familiar, announcing the next track, sharing the weather, reading a dedication from someone named Mary to someone named Jim, and it all feels personal, intimate, like the radio station is speaking directly to you. The sound quality is not what it will become later, in other decades, with stereo and FM and eventually digital clarity. But there is something about the warmth of AM, the slight hiss beneath the music, the way the signal fades when you drive under a bridge or past a tall building, that makes it feel human, imperfect, honest. You sing along sometimes. When a song you love comes on, your voice mixing with the static and the engine noise and the rush of wind through the open window. Your passenger joins in, and for a few minutes the car is filled with harmony and laughter, and the shared joy of music that everyone knows, songs that have become part of the culture, part of the fabric of everyday life. The radio is not just entertainment, it is companionship. On long drives when the road stretches empty ahead and the landscape blurs into sameness, the radio keeps you company, fills the silence, reminds you that somewhere out there, other people are listening too, connected by the same signal, the same songs, the same moments. At night, the radio takes on a different quality. You twist the dial, searching for distant stations, signals that bounce off the atmosphere and travel hundreds of miles, bringing you music from cities you've never seen, voices from places you can only imagine. A station from Chicago comes in clear for a moment, playing jazz, and you listen, fascinated, before it fades again into static. The radio knobs are solid, chrome-trimmed, satisfying to turn. There is no digital display, no presets, no memory function. You find your stations by feel, by familiarity, by knowing exactly where on the dial your favourite morning show lives, where the good music station sits in the evening, where the news comes through clearest. Sometimes the signal is strong and the music is perfect and everything feels right. Other times the static wins, and you twist the dial again, searching, patient, knowing that somewhere in the crackling white noise is another station, another song, another voice waiting to break through. The radio is part of the ritual of driving. You start the car, adjust the mirrors, find a station, and then you're ready. The music setting the mood, the pace, the feeling of the drive ahead. Upbeat songs make you drive a little faster, tap the steering wheel, feel alive. Slow songs make you settle back, relax, let the miles roll past without urgency. And when the DJ announces a song that means something to you, a song that takes you back to a specific moment, a specific person, a specific feeling, you turn it up just a little and let it fill the car completely. You let it take you back, let it remind you of who you were, who you are, who you might still become. This is what AM radio was in the 1950s. Not just background noise, but connection. Not just music, but memory. A voice in the car that said, "You are not alone." A signal in the static that said, "The world is larger than you think, and somewhere out there someone is listening too." It is July, and the sun is beating down with the kind of heat that makes asphalt shimmer and makes you question every decision that led you to wear long sleeves. You slide into the driver's seat, and the interior is already warm, the vinyl slightly sticky, the steering wheel almost too hot to touch. You pause for a moment, letting your hands hover over the wheel, waiting for it to cool just enough to grip, and you roll down all the windows, every single one, as far as they will go. The air that comes in is hot too, but at least it is moving. At least it is something other than the thick, stagnant heat that has been building inside the car all morning. There is no button to press for air conditioning, no vent to adjust, no cool stream of refrigerated air waiting to wash over you. Just the windows, the wind, and your willingness to endure. You start the engine and pull out onto the street, and immediately the air begins to move through the car, warm and dry, smelling faintly of cut grass and pavement, and the faint metallic scent of the city heating up. It is not comfortable, not exactly, but it is better than sitting still, better than being trapped in the motionless heat. You drive with your arm out the window, your hand riding the currents of air, your sleeve rolled up as far as it will go. Your passenger does the same on the other side, and the two of you sit there, windows down, hair blowing, sweat beginning to form along your hairline, and you accept it because this is summer, this is driving, this is what it means to be on the road in the heat. On the highway, the speed helps. At 50 miles per hour, the wind rushes through the car with enough force to create a kind of relief, a constant stream of air that dries the sweat on your skin and makes the heat almost bearable. You lean into it, tilting your head slightly to catch the breeze, closing your eyes for just a moment and feeling the wind on your face. But in town, stuck at stoplights, crawling through traffic, the heat becomes oppressive again. The air stops moving. The sun pours through the windshield, relentless and focused, turning the interior into an oven. You shift uncomfortably, the vinyl seat sticking to the back of your legs, and you glance at the stoplight, willing it to change, willing the car ahead of you to move so you can start driving again and bring the wind back. Your passenger fans themselves with a folded map, a futile gesture that moves the hot air around without cooling it, but it is something to do, some small act of defiance against the heat. You reach for the water bottle you brought, warm now, the metal canteen hot to the touch, and take a sip. The water tepid and faintly metallic, but wet at least. And that is what matters. Some people have tried to install aftermarket air conditioning units, bulky contraptions that hang beneath the dashboard or mount in the trunk, connected by hoses and vents that never quite seem to work right. You have considered it, especially on days like this, but the cost is high and the results are unreliable, and most of the time you tell yourself that the windows are enough, that people have been driving in the heat for decades and survived, that you can too. By the time you reach your destination, your shirt is damp with sweat, your hair is wind-tangled, and your face feels flushed and warm. You park in the shade, grateful for any relief, and sit there for a moment, letting the engine idle, letting the last of the breeze wash over you before you have to step out into the full weight of the sun. This is what summer driving was in the 1950s. Hot, uncomfortable, occasionally miserable, but also honest, unfiltered, real. You felt the weather. You experienced it fully. You did not hide from it behind climate control and tinted windows. You met it head on, windows down, wind in your face, sweat on your skin, and you kept driving because the destination was worth it, because the journey mattered, because this was simply what you did. And later, when air conditioning becomes standard, when cars become sealed and climate-controlled and comfortable, you will remember these drives, these hot, sticky, wind-blown drives, and you will feel a strange nostalgia for them, for the simplicity of just rolling down the windows and hoping for the best. Saturday morning, and the driveway becomes your stage. The hose is uncoiled. The bucket is filled with soapy water that catches the light and smells faintly of lemons. The sponge is soft and ready. This is not a chore. This is a ritual, one you take seriously because your car deserves it. You start with the roof, the highest point, working your way down in sections, the way you were taught, the way everyone does it. The sponge glides across the paint, picking up the dust and grime that has settled during the week, the residue of miles driven, roads travelled, weather endured. The water runs down the sides of the car in sudsy streams, pooling in the driveway, catching the morning sunlight and shimmering. You work slowly, methodically, covering every inch, reaching into the curves and crevices, along the trim, around the door handles, making sure nothing is missed. Your neighbour is outside too, a few houses down, doing the same thing. You exchange nods, a silent acknowledgement that you're both part of the same Saturday morning tradition, the same unspoken understanding that a clean car is a cared-for car, and a cared-for car says something about the person who drives it. You rinse the roof, the water cascading down, washing away the soap, revealing the clean paint beneath, and you move to the hood, repeating the process, sponge and soap and rinse, each section getting the same careful attention. The chrome comes next, and this requires a different touch, a softer cloth, a special polish that you rub in small circles until the chrome gleams, until you can see your reflection in the bumper, distorted but clear. You check each piece of trim, each strip of bright work, making sure it all shines, making sure nothing is dull or streaked. The wheels are last, and these take the most effort. You kneel on the driveway, ignoring the dampness seeping through your pants, and scrub the white walls with a stiff brush, working the soap into the rubber, lifting away the road grime that has accumulated, the black streaks that dull the bright white. It is hard work, and your knees ache, and your hands are wet and wrinkled. But when you stand up and step back and see those white walls gleaming, perfectly white, perfectly clean, it is worth it. It is always worth it. You rinse the whole car one more time, a final wash to remove any last traces of soap, and then you stand back, surveying your work. The car sits there in the driveway, dripping, gleaming, looking better than it did an hour ago, looking the way it is supposed to look. But you're not done yet. You retrieve the chamois from the garage, soft and supple, and you begin drying the car, working in long, smooth strokes, soaking up the water, preventing spots from forming on the paint. The chamois glides across the surface, leaving nothing behind but clean, dry, perfect paint. When the car is dry, you step back again, and this time you allow yourself a moment of satisfaction. The paint glows, the chrome sparkles, the white walls are bright and clean, everything is exactly as it should be. Your neighbour walks over, coffee cup in hand, and nods approvingly. "Looking good," he says, and you thank him, because the compliment means something, because he knows what it takes to get a car looking this way. You coil the hose, empty the bucket, rinse the sponge, and put everything away. The driveway is wet, scattered with puddles that will dry in the sun, and your car sits there, clean and proud and ready for whatever the week ahead might bring. This is what washing your car was in the 1950s. Not a quick run through an automated car wash, not a service you paid someone else to perform, but a personal act of care, a way of showing respect for the machine that carried you, a ritual that connected you to your car in a way that went beyond simply driving it. You climb into the driver's seat, and even though you're not going anywhere, even though you just wanted to sit inside for a moment, the car feels different now, cleaner, fresher, loved. And that feeling, that sense of pride and satisfaction stays with you all day. You're heading out on a road trip, and the trunk is packed with everything you might need. Suitcases, a cooler, a blanket, a spare tyre, and a sense of optimism that feels almost reckless. There is no map spread across the dashboard because maps are expensive and often outdated. Instead, you navigate by instinct, by the sun, by road signs that point toward distant cities with names you recognize but have never visited. You know you're heading west because the morning sun is behind you, and that is enough. The rest you will figure out as you go. Your passenger sits beside you, feet propped on the dashboard, hat tilted low against the glare, and they do not ask where you're going or when you will get there. They trust you. They trust the road. They trust that somewhere ahead, something interesting is waiting to be discovered. The highway unrolls beneath your tyres, smooth and empty, stretching toward a horizon that never seems to get any closer. You pass through small towns, clusters of buildings that appear suddenly and disappear just as quickly, and you make mental notes of the ones that look promising, the ones you might stop at on the way back. There are no chain motels, no reservation systems, no guarantee that you will find a place to sleep tonight. But there are motor courts, small collections of cabins clustered around a central office, and you know that when the sun starts to set, you will start looking for one of those, watching for the neon signs that promise vacancy, clean rooms, hot water. You stop for lunch at a roadside diner, a place you chose simply because it looked friendly, because the parking lot had a few cars in it, because something about it felt right. Inside, the waitress greets you with a smile, the coffee's hot and strong, and the sandwich is simple and satisfying, and you sit there for a while in no hurry, listening to the local accents, the conversations happening at other tables, the small rhythms of a town you will never see again. Back on the road, the landscape changes. Flat fields give way to rolling hills. The air smells different, drier, carrying the scent of sage and dust. You roll the windows down farther, letting the wind rush through, and your passenger closes their eyes, breathing deeply, taking it all in. You pass other travellers, families in station wagons, couples in convertibles, lone drivers in sedans, all of them heading somewhere, all of them following their own routes, their own instincts. You wave sometimes, a quick lift of the hand, and they wave back, and for a moment you're all part of the same journey, the same adventure, even though you will never see each other again. As the day wears on, you start watching for a place to stop. The sun is sinking lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and you know you need to find a motor court soon, before the light is gone completely. You see a sign, vacancy, clean rooms. You pull off the highway, tyres crunching on gravel, and park in front of a small office with a neon sign that flickers in the twilight. The owner comes out, friendly and unhurried, and you ask about a room. He shows you to a cabin, small and simple, with a bed, a lamp, a bathroom with a shower that drips slightly. It is not fancy, but it is clean, and it is yours for the night, and that is all you need. You unload the car, carry your suitcases inside, and sit on the edge of the bed, feeling the miles in your bones, the road still humming faintly in your ears. Your passenger suggests getting dinner at the diner you passed a mile back, and you agree, because you are hungry, and because the evening is warm, and because the road trip is not just about the driving but about these small moments, these quiet decisions, these unplanned stops that become memories. This is what road trips were in the 1950s. Uncertain, unstructured, guided by intuition and luck and the belief that the road would provide, that somewhere ahead was a place to eat, a place to sleep, a reason to keep going. You did not know where you would end up, not exactly, and that was part of the thrill, part of the freedom, part of what made the journey worth taking. Your car is parked in the driveway, and the neighbours have noticed. They always notice. In the 1950s, your automobile is not just transportation. It is proof. Proof that you have made it, that you're doing well, that you're keeping up. The car you drive says something about you, about your job, your income, your place in the social order. A Cadillac says you have arrived. A Buick says you're on your way. A Chevrolet says you're solid, respectable, doing just fine. Each brand carries its own weight, its own implications, and everyone knows the hierarchy, the unspoken rules of what each car means. You chose your car carefully, knowing that it would be seen, that it would be judged, that it would become part of how people understood you. You wanted something that reflected your success without being ostentatious, something that said you were doing well but not showing off, something that struck the right balance between pride and humility. When you pull into the driveway after work, your neighbour is outside, watering his lawn, and he glances over, his eyes lingering on your car for just a moment longer than necessary. You see the flicker of assessment, the quick calculation happening behind his eyes, and you know he is comparing, measuring, wondering if his own car still measures up. At parties, at gatherings, the conversation inevitably turns to cars. Someone mentions they are thinking about trading up, and everyone leans in, interested, because this is news, this matters. "What are you looking at?" someone asks, and the answer is dissected, discussed, approved or questioned based on what it says about the person making the purchase. Your car is also a reflection of your taste, your personality. The colour you chose, the options you added, the way you maintain it, all of this communicates something to the people who see it. A well-kept car says you are responsible, organised, someone who takes care of what they own. A neglected car suggests the opposite, even if it is not true, even if you simply do not have the time. On Sundays, after church, families drive home slowly, windows down, and you see the procession of cars, each one polished and gleaming, each one a statement. The Cadillacs are parked prominently, their owners lingering beside them, accepting compliments with practiced modesty. The more modest cars are parked farther back, but their owners are no less proud, no less careful about their appearance. Your own car occupies a middle ground, and you are comfortable there. It is nice enough to command respect, but not so flashy that it invites resentment. It is the kind of car that says you are doing well, that you have worked hard, that you have earned what you have without needing to broadcast it loudly. But there is pressure too, subtle and constant. The pressure to keep up, to trade in when the new models arrive, to make sure your car does not fall too far behind the neighbours, behind your colleagues, behind the standard of what is expected. You wash it every Saturday, not just because you enjoy the ritual, but because a dirty car is embarrassment, a sign that you're slipping, that you're not maintaining the standards that matter. You wax it regularly, keep the chrome polished, make sure the white walls are bright and clean, because these details are noticed, commented on, remembered. When someone at work gets a new car, everyone gathers in the parking lot at lunch to see it, to admire it, to offer congratulations that are genuine but tinged with envy. You stand there with the others, nodding appreciatively, making the right comments, and inside you're already thinking about when you might be able to upgrade, what you might choose, how it will feel to be the one everyone is congratulating. This is what the car as status symbol meant in the 1950s. It was not shallow, not entirely. It was part of a larger story about progress, about moving up, about building a life that was better than the one your parents had. The car was visible proof of that progress, a rolling testament to your hard work and success. And so you kept it clean, kept it running well, kept it looking its best, because it was not just a car. It was your reputation, your identity, your place in the world, parked right there in the driveway for everyone to see. When something goes wrong with your car, and eventually something always does, you do not call a dealership or search online for the nearest service centre. You drive carefully to the mechanic you trust, the one everyone in town knows by name. His shop is small, tucked into a side street, marked by a hand-painted sign that has faded over the years but is still perfectly readable. The building is cinder block and corrugated metal, functional and unpretentious, and the smell of motor oil and welding and honest work greets you the moment you pull into the lot. He's already outside, wiping his hands on a rag when you arrive. He recognises your car, recognises you, and he nods in greeting, the kind of nod that says he has been expecting you, or at least is not surprised to see you. "What is she doing?" he asks, and you describe the problem. The way the engine has started knocking, the hesitation when you accelerate, the faint smell of something burning that you cannot quite place. He listens carefully, not interrupting, his eyes focused on your face and then on your car, already diagnosing, already running through possibilities in his mind. When you finish, he nods again. "Leave her with me," he says. "I will take a look." You hand over the keys, And there is trust in that gesture, real trust. Because this man is going to take apart your car, your pride, your investment, and you believe he will do it right. You believe he will find the problem, fix it properly, charge you a fair price, and not try to sell you something you do not need. He's been working on cars since before you were born. He learned from his father, who learned from his father, and he knows engines the way some people know music, by feel, by sound, by instinct. He can hear a problem in the idle. He can see it in the way the exhaust smoke drifts. He does not need a computer to tell him what is wrong. You leave the car and walk home or catch a ride with a neighbour and you wait. A day passes, maybe two. And then the phone rings, and it is him. His voice calm and steady. Found your problem, he says, and he explains it in terms you can understand without talking down to you, without making you feel foolish for not knowing. The repair will cost you, but the price is fair, and he tells you exactly what he's going to do, what parts he's going to use, how long it will take. You agree, because you trust him, because everyone trusts him, because he has never given anyone a reason not to. When you pick up the car, it runs like new. The knock is gone, the hesitation is gone, the smell is gone. He has fixed it, truly fixed it, not just patched it or covered up the symptoms, but addressed the actual problem and made it right. You pay him in cash, counting out bills while he writes up a receipt in pencil on a carbon copy form. He hands you your copy, and you fold it carefully, tucking it into your wallet, and he tells you to come back if anything else comes up, to not let it go too long next time. You shake his hand and his grip is firm, his palm rough with calluses, and you thank him, genuinely, because he has done more than just fix your car. He has given you peace of mind, the knowledge that your car is in good shape, that it will get you where you need to go, that you can rely on it. This is what the mechanic meant in the 1950s. Not just a service provider, but a craftsman, a trusted advisor, someone who knew your car almost as well as you did, and cared about it almost as much. He was part of the community, woven into the fabric of the town, someone you could count on when things went wrong. And when you drive away, the engine purring smoothly beneath the hood, you feel grateful, not just for the repair, but for the relationship, for the trust, for the knowledge that when you need help, you know exactly where to go. Getting your first car is not just about transportation, it is about transformation. One day you are borrowing your parents' sedan, apologizing for every scratch, every mile, every moment you're even slightly late returning it. The next day you have your own. It is not new, it is not fancy. It is a hand-me-down from an uncle, or a beat-up sedan you found advertised on a bulletin board at the grocery store, or a coupe your father helped you buy after months of saving allowance money and part-time job paychecks. The paint is faded, the upholstery is worn, one of the hubcaps is missing, but it is yours, completely, undeniably, legally yours, and that makes it the most beautiful car in the world. You spend the first day just sitting in it, parked in the driveway, hands on the wheel, imagining where you will go, who you will take with you, what it will feel like to drive somewhere, anywhere, without asking permission first. Your parents are nervous, though they try not to show it. They remind you about speed limits, about being careful, about checking the oil and the tyre pressure, and not driving after dark until you have more experience. You nod, agreeing to everything, barely listening, because all you can think about is the freedom now sitting in your driveway, waiting for you to turn the key. The first drive alone is terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. You back out carefully, aware of every movement, every sound, every inch of space around you. You make it to the end of the street and your heart is pounding, but you're doing it, you're driving, alone, in your own car, and no one can tell you to come home yet. You drive to your friend's house first. because they need to see this. They need to witness this moment. You pull up, honking the horn, and they come running out, eyes wide, grinning, and they climb in beside you without hesitation. You drive around the neighborhood together, windows down, radio turned up louder than your parents would ever allow, shouting and laughing and feeling like the world has just opened up in front of you. The car becomes your ticket to everything, to the drive-in on Friday nights, where you park in the back row and talk through the movie, to the diner on Saturday afternoons, where you sit in the parking lot with your friends, engines idling, radios playing, just being seen, to the beach on Sunday mornings, when the roads are empty and the sun is just coming up, and you drive with the windows down and the salt air rushing in. It also becomes your responsibility. You learn to check the oil, to add it when it runs low. You learn to change a tyre on the side of the road, your hands shaking the first time but steady by the third. You learn what the strange noises mean, when to worry and when to ignore them, when to take it to the mechanic, and when to try fixing it yourself with the help of a friend who knows more about engines than you do. The car breaks down sometimes because of course it does. It is old, it is tired, it has been through other owners and other lives before it came to you. But each time it breaks, you figure out how to fix it, or you save up enough money to have someone else fix it, and each time you get it running again you love it a little more because it is yours, because you are keeping it alive, because it is teaching you things you did not know you needed to learn. Your first car is not perfect, but it is freedom. It is independence. It is the first step toward adulthood, toward a life where you make your own choices, go your own places, chart your own course. And even years later, long after you've traded it in for something newer, something better, you will remember that first car with a fondness that has nothing to do with how well it ran, and everything to do with what it represented. The moment when the world became yours to explore. The station wagon sits in the driveway, long and practical, and unapologetically large, built for families who need space and are not afraid to admit it. This is not the car you dreamed about as a teenager. This is the car you drive now as an adult, because life has shifted. The rear-facing third seat is where the kids fight over who gets to sit, because riding backward feels like an adventure, like being on a train watching the world recede behind you. They wave at the cars following, pressing their faces against the glass, and sometimes the drivers wave back, smiling at the sight of those small hands, those eager faces. The cargo area is enormous, big enough to swallow groceries for a week, luggage for a family vacation, sporting equipment, camping gear, whatever life requires you to haul. The tailgate drops down with a solid thunk, creating a bench where the kids sit while you load or unload, their legs swinging, their voices chattering about nothing and everything. Inside, the station wagon is a world unto itself. The front bench seat holds you and your spouse, maybe a small child squeezed between you. The middle bench holds 2 more kids, sometimes 3 if they are small enough and willing to share space. And the back holds whoever drew the lucky straw that morning, perched on that rear-facing seat, monarch of their own backward kingdom. The wood grain panelling along the sides is not real wood, just vinyl made to look like it, but it gives the car a certain warmth, a certain character that plain metal would not have. It says this is a family car, a practical car, a car that has made peace with its purpose and wears it proudly. You drive to the grocery store and the wagon handles the load easily. Paper bags fill the cargo area, packed tightly, milk and bread and canned goods and everything else a family of 5 or 6 or 7 needs to survive the week. The suspension sags slightly under the weight, but the car never complains, never falters. This is what it was built for. On weekends, you pack the wagon for trips to the lake, the back crammed with towels and inner tubes and a cooler filled with sandwiches and lemonade. The kids pile in, wet and sandy on the way home, and you do not worry about the upholstery because the wagon can take it. It is designed for this, for the mess and chaos and wonderful disorder of family life. Other families have station wagons too, the same basic shape with small variations, different colours, different trim levels, but all serving the same purpose. You recognise them in parking lots, on the road, at school pickup, a fleet of practical vehicles driven by people who have made the same choice you have, who have traded speed and style for space and utility. Your neighbours drive a newer model, wood grain gleaming, and you feel a small twinge of envy when you see it. But your wagon runs well, serves its purpose, and that is enough. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to get your family from place to place safely, comfortably, with enough room for everyone and everything. At night, after the kids are in bed, you sometimes stand in the driveway and look at the wagon, this big, practical, unpretentious machine, and you feel a strange affection for it. It is not glamorous. It will never turn heads, but it is dependable, spacious, exactly what you need at this moment in your life. And someday, when the kids are grown and gone, when you no longer need the space, you will trade it in for something smaller, something that fits just two people. But you will remember this wagon, remember the trips it made possible, the adventures it carried, the way it held your whole world inside its long, practical frame. The station wagon is not just a car. It is a chapter, a season, a marker of time when your life was full and loud and busy, and the car that got you through it all was exactly as unglamorous and essential as it needed to be. The sun is lower now, softer, casting everything in that golden light that makes even ordinary streets look like scenes from a postcard. You've been driving for hours, no real destination, just movement and air, and the gentle hum of the engine. Your hands rest lightly on the wheel, relaxed now, no longer gripping with the tension you started with. The afternoon has worn away the edges of the week, smoothed out the stress, left you feeling loose and easy and content in a way that only aimless driving can achieve. The roads have taken you through farmland, past fields where cows graze lazily, through small towns where a single stoplight controls the whole intersection, along creeks that run clear and slow beside the pavement. You have seen things you would never have seen if you had stayed home. Small, beautiful things that do not announce themselves but wait patiently to be noticed. Your passenger has been quiet for the last hour, not because anything is wrong, but because there is nothing that needs saying. The silence between you is comfortable, full, the kind of quiet that comes from being completely at ease with another person, with the moment, with the slow rhythm of the afternoon. You turn onto a familiar road now, heading back toward town, toward home, and there is no reluctance in the turn, no resistance. The drive has been what it needed to be, and now it is time to return, to let the evening settle in, to carry the peace of the afternoon back with you. The light shifts as you drive, the sun sinking closer to the horizon, the shadows growing longer, stretching across the fields and roads like the day itself is reaching out, trying to hold on a little longer. The sky begins to take on colour, pale orange at first, then deeper, richer, blushing pink and gold. You pass the same houses you passed on the way out, but they look different now, softer in the evening light, their windows beginning to glow as people inside turn on lamps, settle in for dinner, begin their own evenings. Smoke rises from a chimney somewhere, thin and straight, and the smell of it drifts through your open window, wood smoke and comfort and the promise of warmth. Your passenger shifts slightly, stretches, and lets out a long, satisfied breath. That was nice, they say quietly, and you nod because it was, because it always is, because these drives are never wasted time, never empty hours, but something else entirely, something necessary and nourishing and quietly essential. The town comes into view, the building small at first, growing larger as you approach, and you feel the shift, the return to the familiar, the re-entry into ordinary life. But you are different now, just slightly, just enough. The drive has done its work. You turn onto your street, and your house appears ahead, lights on in the windows, waiting. You pull into the driveway, cut the engine, and sit there for a moment, letting the silence settle, letting the stillness replace the motion you have been feeling for hours. Your passenger opens the door, steps out, stretches again. The air is cooler now, the evening bringing relief from the day's heat, and you can hear the sounds of the neighbourhood winding down, dinners being prepared, children being called inside, the quiet hum of evening routines beginning. You climb out of the car, close the door gently, and stand there for a moment, one hand resting on the roof, feeling the warmth of the metal, the faint ticking of the engine as it cools. The drive is over, but the feeling of it lingers, settling into your chest, your shoulders, your mind. This is what the Sunday drive gave you. Not distance travelled or sight seen, but time, unmarked and unhurried, space to breathe, permission to wander, freedom to simply be in motion without purpose or pressure. It gave you a chance to remember what it feels like to move through the world slowly, to notice the light changing, the fields passing, the small beauties that fill the spaces between destinations. You walk toward the house, and your passenger holds the door open, and you step inside together, carrying the afternoon with you like a gift, like a secret, like something precious that does not need to be named to be understood. The car sits in the driveway, engine cooling, journey complete, and already, without thinking about it, you're looking forward to next Sunday, to the next drive, to the next few hours of aimless, perfect wandering. You stand in the showroom, and the new models are arranged like sculptures in a gallery, each one positioned just so, lit from above, gleaming under lights that make the paint look deeper and the chrome look brighter. These are not just cars, they're works of art. The designers have been thinking not just about function, but about form, about beauty, about creating machines that stir something inside you when you look at them. Every line has been considered, every curve deliberate, every detail crafted to create a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. You walk slowly around a new Chevrolet, taking in the sweep of the fenders, the way they rise and fall in waves that suggest motion even when the car is standing still. The grille is bold, confident, a statement of intent. The headlights are hooded, giving the front end a look that is both aggressive and elegant, powerful and refined. The tail fins rise from the rear like something from a dream, from a vision of the future, and you reach out to touch one, feeling the smooth metal, the perfect paint, the craftsmanship that went into creating this shape. It is not practical, it does not improve performance, but it is beautiful, undeniably, and that seems to be reason enough. The interior is just as carefully designed. You open the door and slide into the driver's seat, and everything is coordinated, harmonious, thought through. The dashboard is a work of industrial design, gauges arranged symmetrically, chrome accents catching the light, every knob and switch placed exactly where your hand expects to find it. The upholstery is two-tone, complementary colours that match the exterior paint, and the stitching is precise, neat, a testament to the care that went into every detail. Even the headliner, the ceiling of the interior, is finished beautifully, smooth and clean, and perfectly fitted. You run your hands over the steering wheel, feeling the texture, the weight, the solid quality of it. This is not cheap. This is not mass-produced in the sense of being careless or rushed. This is a car built by people who believe that design matters, that beauty matters, that the things we surround ourselves with should be worthy of the lives we're trying to build. The salesman approaches smiling, and he does not need to say much. The car speaks for itself. He points out features, options, upgrades, but mostly he just lets you look, lets you take it in, lets the design do the work of convincing you. Other people are in the showroom too, circling the cars, opening doors, peering under hoods, and there is a reverence in their movements, a respect for what they are seeing. These are not just products, these are aspirations made metal, dreams made real, visions of a future that feels bright and bold and full of possibility. You step back, taking in the whole car again, and you understand why people line up for the new models every year, why they trade in perfectly good cars for the latest design, why they care so deeply about the small changes, the new trim, the updated taillights. It is not frivolous. It is not wasteful. It is about being part of something that celebrates beauty, that believes progress can be aesthetic as well as functional, that insists our daily lives should be filled with things that make us feel something. The cars of the 1950s are designed with optimism, with confidence, with the belief that tomorrow will be better than today, and that the machines we drive should reflect that belief. They are designed to make you feel successful, modern, forward-thinking. They are designed to turn heads, to start conversations, to be remembered. You leave the showroom without buying, not yet, but the images stay with you. The sweep of those fenders, the rise of those fins, the gleam of that chrome, and you think about what it would be like to own one, to drive it, to have that beauty sitting in your driveway every morning, waiting for you. This is what car design was in the 1950s. Not just engineering, but artistry. Not just transportation, but inspiration. A belief that the machines we build should lift our spirits, should reflect our highest aspirations, should be, in their own way, beautiful enough to deserve the word art. Somewhere along the way, cars stopped being experiences and started being appliances. Efficient, reliable, smart, but also, in some quiet, hard-to-define way, less magical. You sit in a modern car, and it is undeniably better in almost every measurable way. It is safer, with airbags and crumple zones and sensors that warn you before you drift out of your lane. It is more comfortable, with climate control that keeps the temperature perfect year-round. With seats that adjust in 12 different directions and remember your preferences. It is more efficient, sipping fuel where the old cars guzzled it, running cleaner, lasting longer with less maintenance. But something is missing. You turn the key or press the button and the engine starts with a muted hum, quiet and controlled, engineered to be unobtrusive. There is no rumble, no announcement. The car does not wake up so much as simply become operational, like a refrigerator or a dishwasher, performing its function without drama or personality. You drive, and the experience is smooth, isolated, disconnected. The road noise is muted by sound insulation. The vibrations are absorbed by sophisticated suspension. The steering is light, easy, requiring almost no effort, no feedback, no sense of the road beneath you. You're piloting the car more than driving it, managing systems more than controlling a machine. The windows are tinted, the climate is controlled, the music streams through speakers that create a perfect acoustic environment. You are sealed inside a bubble, protected from the world outside, and while that protection is comforting, it is also distancing. You are moving through the world without fully experiencing it, watching it through glass, feeling it only second-hand. There are no bench seats, just individual buckets that keep you separated from your passenger, each in your own space, your own climate zone, your own domain. There is no closeness, no sliding across the seat, no shared experience of the drive. The center console rises between you like a wall, filled with cup holders and storage and controls, practical and useful and isolating. The design is aerodynamic, efficient, sensible. The curves are subtle, the lines conservative, the shapes dictated by wind tunnels and fuel economy standards, rather than the wild imagination of designers who believed cars should look like dreams. Every car starts to look like every other car. Variations on the same basic theme, optimized for function, stripped of personality. You do not wash the car every Saturday because the paint is clear-coated, protected, designed to need less maintenance. You do not check the oil because sensors do it for you, warning lights appearing on the dashboard when attention is required. You do not know the mechanic who services your car because you take it to the dealership, where different technicians plug it into diagnostic computers and replace parts according to codes. The car does not need you the way the old cars did. It does not require your care, your attention, your relationship. It simply works day after day, asking nothing, offering transportation without demanding involvement. And so the connection is lost. The car becomes a tool, a means to an end, something you use without thinking about, without loving, without feeling much of anything toward except perhaps gratitude that it started this morning and will probably start tomorrow. This is what we lost when cars became better. We lost the imperfection, the personality, the sense that the machine was alive in some small way, and that driving it was a partnership, a conversation, a relationship. We lost the drama of the engine starting, the thrill of speed unmediated by computers, the satisfaction of keeping something running through our own knowledge and effort. We lost the bench seats and the open windows and the sound of the wind rushing through the car. We lost the Sunday drives with no destination, because now we have GPS telling us where to go, how to get there, how long it will take, removing the possibility of being truly lost, truly wandering. We lost the drive-ins and the car hops and the cruising, because the culture shifted, because the world changed, because the things that made those experiences possible disappeared one by one until they existed only in memory. We gained so much: safety, efficiency, reliability, comfort. And we should not dismiss those gains, should not pretend they do not matter, because they do, profoundly. But late at night, when you sit in your modern car in the driveway, engine running silent and smooth, you sometimes think about what it would have been like to drive a car from the 1950s. To feel that rumble, to hear that sound, to be connected to the machine and the road in a way that is no longer possible, and you wonder if maybe, just maybe, we lost something worth mourning. You're sitting in your driveway now, in the present, and maybe you're looking at your car, practical and dependable, and feeling grateful for everything it does. The backup camera, the Bluetooth, the gas mileage that would make your grandfather weep with envy. But you're also thinking about the cars from the 1950s, the ones you've been remembering, the ones that belong to another time, another world, another version of America that feels both impossibly distant and somehow still familiar. You remember them because they were beautiful in a way that was unafraid, unapologetic, excessive. Because they believed that cars should be more than just transportation, that they should inspire, delight, make you feel something every time you saw them sitting in the driveway. You remember them because they were part of a culture that centered around driving, around cars, around the shared experience of being on the road. The drive-ins, the diners, the cruising, the Sunday drives. All of it built around the automobile, around the idea that cars were not just a way to get somewhere but a destination in themselves. You remember them because they required something from you. They needed to be cared for, maintained, understood. They were not self-sufficient. They were partners, demanding attention and effort and knowledge, and in return they gave you a connection, a relationship, a sense of ownership that went deeper than just having the title. You remember them because they were social. The bench seats that let you sit close. The open windows that let the world in. The gatherings at gas stations and car shows and parking lots where people who loved cars came together to share that love, to talk, to admire, to belong. You remember them because they represented freedom in a way that feels harder to find now. The freedom to wander without a map. The freedom to get lost and find your way back. The freedom to drive for hours with no purpose except the driving itself, their movement, the landscape rolling past. You remember them because they were optimistic, the tail fins reaching skyward, the chrome gleaming bright, the colours bold and unafraid. Everything about them said the future is going to be wonderful, and we're going to drive into it in style. And maybe most of all, you remember them because they were imperfect. They broke down, they guzzled gas, they had no airbags, no crumple zones, no anti-lock brakes. They were hot in summer and cold in winter. They required constant attention and care. But those imperfections made them human, made them real, made them something you could have a relationship with instead of just a transaction. The cars of the 1950s were not perfect. The era was not perfect. There were problems, inequalities, issues that we rightly moved past, and the cars themselves, for all their beauty, were inefficient and unsafe by modern standards. But they were something. They were an experience. They were a moment in time when car culture was at its peak, when driving was not just a necessity but a joy, when automobiles were not just machines but dreams made real. You think about your grandfather sitting in his driveway in 1955, washing his car on a Saturday morning, the sun warm on his back, the chrome gleaming under his hands. You think about what that felt like, that simple ritual, that moment of care and pride and connection, and you understand why we remember it, why we look back with nostalgia, even knowing we cannot go back, even knowing that the world has changed, and cars have changed, and we have changed with them. We remember it because it was beautiful, because it was ours, because for a brief shining moment the golden age of American car culture gave us something that felt like freedom, and looked like art, and sounded like a V8 engine rumbling to life on a quiet Sunday morning. We remember it because we will never get it back, and maybe that is exactly why it matters, why it stays with us, why late at night in our modern cars with all their conveniences, we still think about what it was like when driving was not just about getting somewhere, but about the pure, simple joy of the journey itself. The golden age is gone. The cars are mostly gone too, restored and collected and cherished by the few who still remember, who still care, who still believe that automobiles can be more than just transportation. But the memory remains. The feeling remains. The understanding that once, not so long ago, cars were magic, and driving them was an experience worth remembering, worth honouring, worth holding on to even as the world moves forward and leaves that golden age further and further behind. So tonight, as you settle deeper into your blankets, the soft kind that do not scratch, let yourself linger for just a moment longer in the world we have been wandering through together. You woke up in a driveway in 1952, stood beside a car that gleamed like a promise, and spent the day moving through an America that believed the road ahead was full of possibility. You felt the rumble of an engine coming to life. You tasted a burger at the drive-in. You cruised Main Street with the windows down and the radio playing. You drove with no destination and arrived exactly where you needed to be. The people who lived this life, who polished those cars every Saturday and gathered at gas stations and took their families on Sunday drives, they were not thinking about golden ages or nostalgia or history. They were just living. They were washing white walls and checking oil and waving to neighbours and doing the quiet, steady work of holding a life together. They cared for their cars because their cars carried them. They cared for each other because that is what you did. And somewhere in all that ordinary care, in all those small rituals, was something worth remembering. So maybe tonight, or tomorrow, or sometime soon, you slow down just a little. You notice the light changing. You take the long way home. You let yourself wander without a map, without a plan, trusting that the road will provide. You carry forward the best of what that era offered. The care, the attention, the belief that the journey matters as much as the destination. History is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's a driveway, and a clean car, and someone who took the time to make it shine, and that is enough. That has always been enough. Good night. Drive safe. And may your dreams be as open and endless as the road.